whether the law would allow, and an attorney could look into it and say, well, by extension, a cow path could be that. That's not the case here.
And I'm using extremes to
And we
illustrate the point.
we
but-
wouldn't approve of a cow
Right.
as a private road.
Right.
And so we are, in what we've looked at, establishing precedent as to what we are requiring for a private road. And maybe we need to
Refine the,
refine the definition in the ordinance. But until we do that, we've got a gray area. And it's not-
So right now, could we accept
We need to work
Stem Turn as a private road? Can we take a vote on that
I will,
at this point and say we accept Stem Turn as a private road?
You making a motion?
Well, I don't want to,
I'll make the
I don't
motion.
want to force it, but could we do that?
I'll make the motion. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second it. That we accept Stem Turn as a private road.
Call for a vote?
Any discussion?
Yeah, I made my point, so.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
Vote?
Thank you.
I think we've just done it.
So I don't think we need an attorney. And
But
the,
but we don't need to discuss it. I mean,
well,
I'm not upset that we just approved it. Don't get me wrong. I think I'm probably more likely to let things slide than most others here. It's more just frontage is an issue that comes up all the time. And I think we need to be consistent with that.
but what I think discussion came up with is that really we need to go back to our ordinances or whatever you call them and redefine what is a private road. But I think, you know,
Clarify. Do the,
I think it's clarified, but, you know, to the point, we did our homework. You did your home. And the road does, you know, again, Burr may go out and look at it and see something slightly differently because he's got a more trained eye, for sure. But it would seem, if I'm understanding everything correctly, his trained eye would be looking at relative to a class 5 road, which would be something that the town would have to accept as a class 5 road as opposed to a private way. And really what we're trying to determine is whether or not we have a private way and whether or not that's accepted. And according to our ordinance, we have the right to do that.
we've got a private road now.
Okay. Next step is,
what, the next step is, do we get the engineer in there or do we?
That's all it takes.
I may talk to him. I may talk.
Actually, the next step is step 1 of the public hearing.
Yeah, right.
We've gone way ahead here.
Well, good.
So now we have to decide whether we want to do this.
Now we need to go through the checklist.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh because it's not a funny item, but we've got to hear.
do we have a checklist with you?
I don't think we have one set up. I don't think we have set one set up to look at.
Yeah, I don't think we properly went through it last time, knowing that.
And did you go through it? Because usually the applicant goes through the checklist as well.
I certainly did before submitting,
Did you
but
fill
here,
one out and-
yes.
and submit it to us?
Yes.
Because if you can find that.
I don't have one in here in the submission.
It was all in there somewhere.
I will reiterate, I do not have one in here within the submission. Whether it got sent in or not, I don't have it here in this file.
Is it at the bottom there?
What's that?
Is this in here? Here we go.
The checklist.
The checklist. This
Yep,
is the checklist? All right,
so let's go through it real quickly.
so, all right. I'm gonna ask somebody else if they would kindly go through this.
If I can help point anything out.
Pat, would you do that, please?
Right, not the right one, but,
Besides the small print, besides it.
yeah, okay, so title box showing the name of proposed subdivision, identifying title, town, family.
Yep.
Document, they don't have, down there.
Um,
Maybe this is it.
That's it there? Yep.
Butters list, looks like we have that. Match it now.
Yep.
Robert Vaughn, Betty Vaughn Trust.
There, I'm sorry.
Stephen Town Barnett,
Yep.
Thomas Wilson,
Yep.
Jeffrey Catherine Roden,
Yes.
Big John and Jen and Zolby, Kelly Tower Realty Trust,
Okay.
DHA Junior, LM Chase Trust,
Yep.
Thomas Downs,
Yep.
Carol Rad and Home Darcy,
Yep.
Laurel Rat McKay, and Peter Tech.
Laurel gets 2 parcels there.
That's the right, right?
Keep checking them off as we go through. Check them off as we go through.
All of the page on Peter. That's awesome.
They're copy.
Yeah.
Application identified as minor subdivision or major subdivision.
Doesn't necessarily say minor or major, but it says proposed 2.
There's that.
See if it's a minor form.
Minor subdivision.
5 print copies, and probably waiting on the Mylar at the moment.
Yes,
Okay.
I can get that.
You don't want to do that Mylar until you really sure.
I don't like to waste, if I can help it, so I thought I'd play it safe.
Does the proposed lot plan town class 5 or better street or road? That would be no.
It does in part, but yeah, it's a yes and no.
No.
That's a NA, not applicable maybe.
The answer is no, but we're looking at it from a different perspective.
And a title box. Yes, well, these are all checked off. These are checks.
Those are, no, those are.
Okay.
So Betsy's gone through this before.
All right. You might surprise me.
Well, Betsy's gone through it.
And she does have.
So,
Zoning frontage requirement.
This, obviously, the application came in before, prior to all of our discussions. So if I were to fill it out again today, I would change those.
Okay. Name, address, and seal of engineer, which is applicable. Existing and proposed topographic contours at 5-foot interval. Intervals better. That's not new.
So the waiver was requested simply due to the fact of that each lot is, 18 and a half acres, and 16 acres. There's abundant density, beyond abundant density for 4-bedroom frontage. So rather than go to the client's expensive, to 0.35 acres.
Are we okay with that?
Yeah.
Next, open space not applicable, it's not used for the existing dry hazard, fire pond, not applicable. If a private road be located within neither site plan parcel, is deed to each lot, so that's what I was asking, if this private road, if it's deeded to these other lots.
Yes, yep, there are, and I do have a list of a number of the, needed right-of-way easements. So they all of the lots that utilize stem turn are, they do have to use access.
And you have probably that the,
I can provide copies of all of the deeds. I didn't, I apologize. Yeah, and no easements are changing, no.
and also ask for a statement of responsibility for the maintenance and care.
I can certainly put that on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the requirement? We can do the approval subject to receipt of that.
That one, Mylar. Subdivision regulation, check. And that's just, not
Those are the engineers.
Checklist is checked.
All right, so if I'm hearing correctly, then it's subject to the statement of responsibility then being received and everything else is met, is that correct?
Well,
And
so
I'll bring in,
I'll move to accept the application.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
And then any
Opposed?
other discussion?
Is there any other,
So actually, my motion to accept the application is conditional on receipt of the deed and responsibility statement.
and revised plans because they will have the private road statement on there.
since this is a public hearing, is there any other comment or hearing none?
Then, so we've accepted it as a complete application, and then we have to approve.
Okay. If I hear a motion to approve the application.
I'll make the motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You have one opposed?
Yeah, I think the vote we took on whether to accept the private road was, I don't know, we would vote for that. And we would vote on the application. Accepting, you know. I'm not sure how that works. If not, we vote on the road specifically, then have to
Okay.
avoid
The vote on the road you were opposed.
Right.
Okay, and now the vote, and that happened before
So if that's a separate vote,
That's a separate
then I would vote to approve the application.
you would approve.
Okay, so that was a separate vote. And so this one you are saying you do approve?
Yes.
Okay, so we have unanimous approval then. Any other comments before the public hearing? Or I consider the public hearing closed. We need to continue on with our activities. We have, I believe, one more for this evening on the agenda. And we close this out. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very, very much. This was,
And we apologize to everyone for our lack of full understanding of our own process.
well, it's a process, and it's learning on, both sides of the table, and, I think I probably very much appreciate your time and attention and wanting to do things. You're welcome to keep any of these that you want, or I will take them all out since I'm going to be bringing.
You want to bring it back as a leading sign?
I need to. I'll have revised copies because I will have the private road statement on there. So those will.
If you'll give
I
us,
saved the Mylar, but these will go
come on,
there.
give us back some good looks.
I will.
How's that?
That sounds perfectly fair to me. Thank you very much. Good night. Thank you.
Drive safely.
Yes, thank you very much.
Careful on those
Dark out.
narrow
I know
private
there's-
roads.
I'll try to stick to the highways.
Oh,
Could we just get the names of the three of you as here? Because we usually have a sheet we pass around, but
we failed to do that this evening because our secretary is not here.
I'm Cynthia Wenger Hoyt.
And I'm Lindsay Hoyt. Lindsay, yeah.
And I'm Tom Wilson, the architect, listed by Jim Robbins.
Thank you guys.
Thank you all very much. Thanks for your time, a lot.
All right, we apologize for getting behind on our schedule, but
Hey, democracy in process.
it's an interesting process.
Good discussion, huh?
Yeah, I didn't want to stick my nose in, but I went out, your tax map lists the road you were talking about as a private road. So the town
Right,
records.
I don't think it's what it's called, it really doesn't, you can call anything a private road, so long as it's
Right, it goes back to when was it accepted as a...
Yeah,
and what standard do we
Yeah.
require a private road to be to serve as frontage?
yeah, and I could understand the struggles, especially when I went to the tax map.
You must be Jim Ryan?
I am Jim Rhines, the White Mountain Survey Engineer.
We recognize you. Please come forward with your preliminary discussion. And that's supposed to be a preliminary discussion, so what I'm looking at looks very formal.
Do you want me to not unroll it?
I'd love to see it.
We'd love to see it, but I'm not sure that makes it a preliminary discussion.
But this was supposed to be a pre-application discussion. Preliminary is when you have to notice of butters and stuff.
Right.
Pre-application
So-
is non.
This is just,
This is just, I'm seeking a little bit of advice before we make any formal application.
Okay.
This is a large napkin.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a fancy napkin.
it is, it's a very fancy napkin. So, this is the Nesselnook property, and in 2000, yes, you just approved this in 2016, and these are the same plan, just one has topography and one doesn't.
Gotcha.
And if I could just have the lift of topo. So the purpose of my coming here for advice is the Robert Sear had, we created the condo development. This was the village condominium, and the rest of this was the Victorian Village condominium. So this was basically a condominium within a condominium. So the Victorian Village units were these. All of this land was common land for the Victorian Village, the commercial unit, and a residential unit.
Is that what we approved
That's what you approved
back?
back in 2016. So some of these units have been conveyed to third parties, but what Robert has realized is he had planned on maybe building a home over here because he sold this one. But he's realized that age is
Catching up.
a never-ending thing. So now he's thinking that perhaps it would be easier to build on this knoll here overlooking the lake rather than up here on this knoll looking down the river and down up to Mount Washington. So what we're going to propose, and I wanted just to seek any input or guidance that you would prefer to see, is to eliminate the boundaries of the unit here and create a residential condominium unit here that has rights for, there's an existing well here that this unit was going to use, so he would grant himself rights to that and also grant rights to place septic here.
So that area now is designated common land?
No, this area now, all of this is the commercial unit.
Okay.
And so what this will be is this will be the residential unit inside the commercial unit, and the commercial unit will now absorb this
Basically scratch this line and create a new.
and create this green line.
And how big is that? I can't.
I don't have a specific
When
size,
you
but
say commercial unit, what do you mean by that?
well, the Nesselnook farm, it would be sold as the entity that it is now if it were ever sold. And it's used commercially.
This is a single lot.
It's a unit, so it's within the whole lot, and it has rights to this common land, this unit has rights to this common land, and these units have rights to this common land. But exclusive to this is any of the commercial stuff, and if they ever wanted to expand it or change it in any way, they would have to come to the planning board for site plan review. But that's.
You called the Green Square condominiumized?
It would be a unit. So when you create a condominium, traditionally people think of a condominium more like Wentworth Resort, where you have this multi-unit building. And the unit boundaries, there's a unit inside, there's multiple units in the building. And what you do is the reason you do an as-built is because when we draw it on the plan and the building doesn't exist, I can't write you a deed to it. I can write you a deed to it, but you don't know where the boundaries are until it's been built, and then the surveyor as-builts it. And that's effectively a boundary survey of your unit. So with these ground units, you can go out and set the property corners or the unit boundaries, and that's your as-built. And then no matter what you do inside of it, you never have to go back to the planning board or anybody else to re-as-built it. Whereas at Wentworth Resort, if somebody wanted to put a deck on the back of one of their units, if it were allowed, they'd have to come back to the planning board to get an as-built because they just expanded their unit.
You've gone beyond.
And in this case, your unit is fixed, and as long as you're building inside your unit, you don't ever have to come back.
So essentially you're just moving that residential unit
Yes.
from its location?
From it reducing its size and putting it here.
Relocating that.
And this, what was a residential unit, will become part of the commercial unit.
And the septic will be,
The septic, again, as before, there were, in the condominium documents, there were rights to put septic, in each other's units as need be.
well, I remember this area, the big area, was,
Right, that was
we
just,
left it up alone
Right, that
for
was-
that open space.
right, it was just open space, correct.
This won't continue to be open space then?
But it's not
That's not
now.
open space.
It's not
This is
now.
open
That's where all
space here.
the,
This part is open space. These
All
are,
of this is open
these are
space.
defined units of the condominium.
So this would add to be,
It would be added.
commercial then?
Well, only if they came back before the planning board
And
and were
it's
able to
basically
get.
being redefined as part of this Nestle farm unit.
Yes, so right now, this Nesselnook Farm unit is 26.5 acres. It will probably become closer to 30 acres or so, and this will become whatever, I don't know, let's see what scale is this. This is 100 scale.
Give or take. It's gonna
So,
be-
yeah, this is probably a half, 3/4 of an acre unit boundary.
So that's gonna be one unit, or is it gonna be multiple units?
It's gonna be one unit, just a single family residence.
Okay.
And then you'll figure out what that means and what where your pins are gonna be and all that good stuff. To
Exactly.
meet the requirements for that to be properly developed.
Yep, and we have to go back to the state, so what I'm envisioning, and I wanted to see if you felt the same, is because this has been approved, this would be an amendment. We're not increasing the number of units, we're just adjusting them. So I need to go back to the state to show them the revised, because this is the plan the state approved, which is what that red
Yeah.
seal is in the corner. And then we come back to you folks for an approval for a condominium amendment.
Okay, which is sort of like a boundary line.
It's kind of like a boundary line adjustment in these.
Within your whole,
Right.
And, if I'm understanding that correctly, because this doesn't affect anybody outside of this, what would be the butter requirement?
The abutter requirements, because it's an amendment of the condominium, and everybody, this unit has rights in this land, so it's everybody, just like it was the first time.
Okay.
I think it sounds reasonable.
I agree.
Those are my exact words.
Okay?
I think that's all you're gonna get out of it.
That's all I should have let you to make sure that I.
Anything to the contrary, guys? You know, if you got any other perspectives?
Okay. Terrific.
I think we're good.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for the fancy napkin.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We appreciate that.
Wow, your colors always
And
seem to come.
we appreciate that was very, very precisely drawn with a highlighter, kind of
Yes.
like a crayon.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's very accurate. We appreciate
You're
it.
so much quicker than that other one.
Yeah, I know, I was gonna come in first.
Refreshingly quick.
Wait a minute.
Well, I was gonna bring up land opportunities, but I decided.
Is there a private road through there?
Wow.
You all have a good night.
Thank you much for making that quick, because you know what? We just caught up with our timeline.
Well, there you go. Have a good night.
Thank you. Any other business?
I'll give is it already the other business?
I think we're let's see, no,
Project.
10-year transportation.
I'm going to ask that we maybe defer
I'm
that.
trying to get a pickup truck to last 10 years.
Well, can we defer that to our October meeting?
I think that's a great idea.
I move that to our
I say.
other business, please. Housing update.
So I just give a quick synopsis of the housing initiative. Since the last planning board meeting, the J Home Committee met with Blueberry Planning, who's been helping us put everything together. Up until that point, the real hope was that we were going to lead off with some short-term vacation rental regulations of some sort, because that appears to be probably one of the biggest pain points at the moment in terms of both rental properties being taken off the market and used for short-term vacation rentals or the long-term rental market, and now also even properties for sale are being purchased simply to use for short-term vacation rentals, Airbnb, so it's kind of hitting different types of housing we have in Jackson. Unfortunately, we can't do anything until the state gives us the authority to do something. We are looking into whether the town has the authority to vary tax rates according to occupation of, the home. I don't really expect that we'll have that authority, but we're looking into it. In other words, if your home isn't occupied at least 6 months of the year, then you pay a higher tax rate than you would if your home is occupied 6 months or more a year. Which, the negative to that is that does, kind of hit the second home people that aren't, that have a home that they vacation in but don't use it more than 6 months a year.
So it's a very broad brush to try to get at a short vacation with the issue.
Scott, is there like a hotel tax on Airbnbs, or is that being discussed?
There is a tax,
But people probably don't pay.
Yes, right. And that's not really the issue. Because even with that tax, you renting a property out through Airbnb or VRBO is still far more, you tend to see far more income than through long-term rentals. So that wouldn't be a deterrent. There is some discussion to, that any rental, and this is something that probably could do, that any rental would have to be brought to certain, fire safety standards. But that's going to hit probably the long-term rental people more so than the short-term. Because you have so much money in the short-term that sure they can bring stuff up to standard, maybe not making as much money at first. So Troy would probably even lose even more long-term rentals if we required every rental, long or short-term, to be brought up to cheaper standards.
So if something was in a Airbnb and these rules passed, would it be retroactive to somebody that's already doing it, or would that just be going forward?
Then the rules, yes. We can't segregate short-term rentals as part of the overall rental market until the state gives us some authority to do that. We just don't have that authority. So we are looking at having variable tax rates depending on, how much of the year a home is occupied. I don't know if that's something we can do. I don't know if that's something we want to do. See if that's a possibility. So, moving away from trying to deal with short-term rentals, what the committee looks like we're going to do is we're going to sort of split into two arms. One will pursue some regulatory changes that we might make, and then the other group will pursue setting up some sort of housing trust in Jackson. That housing trust would be a non-profit organization. It probably would not be directly associated with the town. It might be associated with Mount Washington Valley Housing Coalition, since that's already in place. Who's already acting as the fiscal agent, et cetera. And that trust would be simply an entity that would take in the donations, financial donations, or even property donations, and then place, either purchase land with the money or land that was donated, put that into some sort of affordable housing stock, one form or another.
Regulatory stuff, Scott, based on what you're describing, it sounds like that's not something that we can push forward for this.
It's
still possible to do that.
It's still possible.
We're getting close on time.
One thing that a couple, we recognize that. One thing a couple towns in New Hampshire has done is they've given the planning board sort of the ability to make variances, dimensional variances, so as to approve a subdivision if that subdivision is going to lead towards increase affordable housing in some fashion. And those are really what we have to work with. Our septic isn't much more restrictive than the state is, and so we really can't allow much variance there because the state is going to determine what's possible. What we can do, what we could vary would be frontage and setbacks. And so that would give us, if we had sort of this blanket ability to vary those dimensional requirements, we can apply that either to a large-scale development, which just doesn't seem to be happening in Jackson anyhow, or we could apply it to a smaller development, it's a single subdivision, and say, okay, you really don't have the funds to do, a regular subdivision. If you're willing to sell that new lot under, certain, value restrictions so that it goes into the affordable housing market, then we will allow that subdivision. And just could ability to make that variance in some circumstances.
Could we do variances on height limits? What is it, 30 feet right now?
35? I don't see why we couldn't. And one interesting thing about all this is, I just don't quote me, But subdivision regulations don't require a town vote. Is that correct, Sarah?
Right.
We can change the subdivision regulations. Whether
Yeah, I think we may have to hold a public hearing,
Right.
but it's the vote of the planning board that
And whether offering dimensional variances would be part of the subdivision regulation or part of the zoning regulation, I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know either.
So some of what we're talking about, we might be able to do, as, you know, the planning board might be able to do irrespective of a town meeting, but I don't know that for sure. So that's kind of where we're at. We're going to be meeting on October 3rd with the building plan and the committee again to sort of focus on what regulatory actions we'd like to pursue and also, you know, move forward on the trust part of it. I think probably the intent is then to come to the planning board that October meeting and say, okay, here's where we're headed. And, you know, this is really, the baton is going to pass to the planning board at sort of at this point. And it'll be up to the planning board to either say, yes, this is something we want to pursue, or no, we want to pursue something different, or no, we don't want to pursue anything at all. But to make any kind of regulatory change, that's going to require the planning board. You know, the committee members who are not part of the planning board, you know, certainly will be involved wherever possible to kind of help the process. But at that point, the planning board sort of takes over and either moves things forward or doesn't.
It would be useful to know, to get some of those answers, some of those questions,
Right.
about which items need to go before
Yeah.
the town meeting versus ones that we can manage locally.
Yeah, look into that.
Yeah.
And one thing that we have to look at too, because of Chris brought up height, I'm really against anything being higher, because people move to this area and to Jackson for a certain reason. And where they came from, we were probably high rises, but they moved here because we don't have that kind of thing. And I think we have to be very careful with what we do.
Right.
I could see that in some field, if there was any field that maybe in the back you could do something a little higher that would allow you to get, on a smaller piece of property, to get more people in there. But I don't see people building a 100-foot. I was just asking, I don't really, I'm not-
If we were to do something like that, and I'm sympathetic to what you're saying,
Yeah, I
I
do.
think maybe we would take some part of the town and, you know, create a new, new zone or a new district and say, okay, in this part of town, you can go 4 stories, 5, whatever it is, but
Build a castle.
kind of can
Build a castle.
train it within a particular part of town, so
We
we
already have a
allow
castle,
that.
but we don't need any
Well,
more.
that's what
It's for sale.
we keep it from, sort of
That's just up
Around
there.
16.
having a negative impact on anything but.
You gonna buy it?
Yeah, and as far as keeping, somewhere.
No, it's 1.2. It's only 1.2.
Oh,
Come on, target change to you.
There's somewhere to subdivide and we're saying, okay, you can
the kids
subdivide.
even in my
So
office.
that property goes into affordable housing, but you do that.
Right, the next pause, move quickly.
How it gets sold would be required that the town gets built over 1,500 square feet, which in theory keeps the value low, but in the era of Airbnb, maybe not so much because you can. We could just put a sunset clause, at the trust. If we were doing things so that we had sort of constant stream of properties that, that were going into affordable housing, then we could possibly say, okay, if you buy this property, even though you bought it at below market value, if you hang on to it for 10 years, then there's a sunset clause and you can then sell it at market value. One thing when restricting what you can resell property, a negative to that, I think, is that any work that you do, any investment or time, work, money that you put into the property,
You're not gonna take care of it.
at best, you'll get below market value for that investment, get any value for that investment.
Disincentive to maintain it, yeah.
Right, and so I think that's something we ought to be sensitive towards. But, in a nutshell, that's where we're at. And then on November 7th, we're planning on another community forum to sort of introduce where we're headed and everything. The first community forum was more of an information gathering event.
When are you gonna get that out in terms of calendaring it? soon, if people need to set their calendar.
Yes, well, we have a flyer.
Okay.
Also.
Great. Okay, good.
Because with subdivisions, I mean, because I still have a problem with like Tin Mine Road, where those lots are so small.
Yeah.
And you have somebody put up a new house, it's a two-bedroom house with a two-bedroom septic, and then you turn around and look at it on Airbnb, and it's advertised as a three-bedroom house. And you have wells and septics all the way down.
And that came up at the last, what was that? At some meeting, it was I'm sure it's something the board of selectmen might want to look at is, if someone gets a building permit for a two-bedroom house and now it's being advertised on Airbnb as a three-bedroom, or a four-bedroom or whatever. I'm not sure what the board of selectmen can do, but it might be a good indicator that.
Well, if they've misled us
Right.
on the building permit,
Right.
and then advertise, say, 4-bedroom, I would think we have leverage there to come in and say,
Because someone came in at this meeting and said that they've got, a neighbor that said it's, supposedly a two-bedroom home, but, 15 people are.
and that's been one of the problems here, is some of the bigger old buildings, they're just bringing,
Yep, a lot of room, a lot of places for cots and
Yeah.
sleeping bags and whatever.
Well, there's the other side of that, but I think it's time to call this meeting adjourned.
you think?
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I hear a second. All in favor?
There you go.
We're done.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no.
No,